World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday night. It is USF 2000 here on World Pro Racing. Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Buxton returning on the virtual commentary side. Good evening, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Very, very well indeed, and very much looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to all of these races, quite frankly, and the opening round at Adriana showed for why. The racing was absolutely amazing, but this circuit is just magic. It's not necessarily well used in many, many areas of motorsport, but it is such an amazing place to be. The Autodromo Nacional de Portimao, Algarve, I knew I got that the wrong way around, in Portimao, Portugal. Such a great track. It's very, very challenging. The elevation change is huge. It's very, very technical and twisty, and then you've got this almighty great run from turn 14 right the way back through to turn 1, where you can just let the horses ride. But it's a wonderful track. I love it dearly.
Yes, indeed. Just over 4.6 kilometres, 2.9 miles of tarmac, 15 corners, and we've got a hell of a battle on our hands tonight, Chris. Yeah, Chris, we've got one hell of a battle this evening. Multiple drivers gunning for points. Just tell us a bit about the circuit itself, because there's quite a lot of undulation here at Portimao.
Oh, that there is. There's 15 turns in all. The start-finish straight is very, very long in general motorsport terms, and then you just got this almighty great drop straight down to turn 1. And then it's very sharp on the right-hand. It's quite a big runoff area, but it's one of these turns that tempts you to go at it. It's a little bit too hard. And being that it's a very heavy downhill braking zone, it will catch a number of drivers out. Turn 2, not anything to worry about too much. It's very sharp, very slow. Turn 3, almost a hairpin to the right. And then we're going really sharp uphill, very blind crest, left-hander for turn 4. And then it's, again, continuing the elevation change, and then back down the hill again for turn 5. Again, another downhill braking into a very big runoff area for turn 5. Then you're climbing the hill back through turn 6, 7, and 8. Now this is actually slightly later in the lap. This is turn 13 that we're looking at here. So be able to follow the lap completely through. Now we're going through 14. Again, that's a turn that tempts you to try and take it a little bit too hard and compromise your line, coming through the long right-hander here at turn 15, coming back down the hill again and heading towards the start-finish line. Again, the runoff areas will are forgiving to a point, but they will kill your momentum, and that's very, very crucial along this particular section. So here we go. So now we're going to come down the hill. There's that drop, and you can just see the magnitude of how far down you come very, very quickly. So down into turn 1, then turn 2. As long as you haven't flown off the road into turn 1, it's not really one to worry about. Now down through the gears, heavy right-hander into turn 3, and there you can see the almost ski jump like Very blind apex turn 4 as we jump on. But Dean Vella, our second place man of the championship, has only finished second so far in the standings now. So come over the crest, down the hill. Now that apex is a little bit blind as turn 5 is a little bit banked. Now turn 6, which is blind, but it is flat out, so you don't need to worry about it too much. A little bit down the hill. There's turn 7, just further the throttle a little bit. Wander over to the left for turn 8. Back down through the gearbox again. Oh, wow, yep, there you go. The car is getting very, very unsettled. Then over this crest, downhill very sharply. The elevation changes tend to be quite severe. Now through turn 9, and then almost blind apex for turn 10. That leads straight away into turn 11, but you're trying to turn and brake at the same time. You saw Dean catch that one quite nicely. Down the hill, turn 12. Again, if you wander too wide, there is quite a big runoff area on the right-hand side. Back down the gearbox again for 13. Again, you saw Dean had to counter-steer there as the car was starting to misbehave itself. Now, this is where we picked him up on the lamp at the beginning of the broadcast, through the wrong 180-degree right-hander for turn 14. And then it is a slight moderation of throttle. You just hear Dean backed off the throttle a little bit coming through turn 15. Then it is on the gas, and that is a lap of this wonderful circuit here at Portimao. So just under 12 minutes to go. It's Hans Hannes at the top of the time achieved at the moment. Now, we've been caught out before with Mr. Kalasai, the conqueror at the moment, who will sandbag a little bit during the practice sessions, but then really let it all loose when it's when it all comes good. But we'll see. Apparently he hasn't been topping the timing sheets here in Portimao, unless of course he's been sandbagging all week long, which is of course possible. Now that's what it looks like from the aerial shot. Fair weather, air temperatures nothing too much to worry about. Track temperature 29, shouldn't be anything that the drivers need to worry about too much here in wonderful Portimao. Following on from this week, it is Watkins Glen. We head back to stateside for round number 4, an absolute American classic, much like Indianapolis. And we finish the series in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park, an absolute British classic. Now that, again, is two amazing races that to finish off what has been an incredible series so far, that has been, of course, led primarily by David Kalasai. And there is Hans Hannes, our current top of the tree out of the practice session with a 44.5. Now, we were seeing 42s, certainly 43s in previous practice sessions leading up to now, so these practice times aren't too representative. Wow, Hans's car is very, very loose. You saw he was switching around quite a few times. That was a little bit surprising. I didn't expect that quite that many direction changes going on with Hans in the 91 car. Hopefully you'll be able to settle that down, maybe tweak something in the settings of that car. But still with the 44.5, which is still a decent time, but expect that to continue to drop. Dean Vella in second position. That seems to be his number, is second. 6/10 off the top spot at the moment. Oops, someone was going so there's Itamar Yativ. How has Yativ done in the series? I think Yativ is a newcomer to the series. Oh, purple is sector 2. That's we always like to see the purples on the board in the GT Omega RPM Esports squad. Now, Itamar is not on the championship table, so possible first race for the 26 car. Good to see. And it's in the kind of 45 region, so although has just improved on that, crossing over the line. There we go, a 45.3 on the board for the 26 car. Silva Vieira in 4th position, just a second off the times of the top time. Then it's Vieira, and there is David Kalasai, has now graced the track with his presence, because all eyes will be on him. He leads the championship on 73 points. His nearest challenger is Dean Vella on 37. So I quite like the fact that 73 points is the top spot, and then you reverse that and you have a second place man. Silva Vieira, within a tenth of a second of Hans Hannes' time, slots into second. as we watch David Kalasai come towards the end of the lap. Ademar had internet issues in round 1 and 2, but he's able to join us for this round, so good to see how he does. There's Nicholas Vieira with 5th place time on the board at the moment. Where is Nicholas 10th in the championship at the moment on 10 points. Oh, just caught that apex at turn 2 a little bit harder than he possibly would have liked. But, he was 12th at Adriana and 8th in Indianapolis. Oh, wow. Now, you saw there, the car got really out of shape coming through turn 4, which is not a surprise. That is a really blind apex on a crest. It is really easy to get that wrong. Now, yes, there is downforce on these cars, and they are pretty light powered, but they're not realistically going fast enough to make the downforce much use by that point. So just coming out of turn 3, which is a very slow, tight right-hander. Oh, wow, and look at Vieira clouting the curb there at turn 7, up and over the crest. And of course, those elevation changes will really aggravate the how the downforce works on these cars. So I'm not surprised we're seeing some misbehaving cars and some counter steering and what have you. But I was a little bit surprised to see the extent of them, particularly when we looked at the brawn flavored Hans Hannes a little bit earlier on. And there is Hans Hannes indeed. He's not able to match the 44.5 that he's put on the board previously. Well, certainly not able to match it this time around. He's yellow in sectors 1 and 2, which means he's done better previously. That's a great livery, though. Very, very brawn-esque. Coming around the final turn. And over the line. Won't be too far off it, about half a second off or so. Well, there we go. 45.234. So he was about 7/10 off at that time. We didn't see the lap being set as it was already there when we switched to track, so you may well have had some slipstream when he did that. Vieira and Silva Vieira in the pits. Casey Lagarde, that very distinctive pink livery, and there is David Kalasai now on the board, a 10th off the top spot. I say this every week, perhaps we'll see a change in the guard. We have yet to see it. But once again, Kalasai and Dean Vella side by side on the board with a half a second apart. Wow, again, look at that. Casey Lagarde's car coming out of turn 11, coming down the hill, just will not stick. And that's, again, because of that elevation change, they're coming over that crest. And it's really, really sharp descent out of turn 11. So the car is not very well balanced at all because they're coming out of a slow corner. They won't have the downforce or anything at all resembling downforce. So it's all in the hands of the driver, so he can get very, very lively in certain parts of this track for these cars. Casey Lagarde currently in 8th position, 1.4 seconds off the pace. Does not improve in this time around with a 1:46.1. There's a few people ahead of him, so that's not going to help. It's not going to help his case. We haven't seen Vance Lagarde, actually, unfortunately. Trev Sharp. Trev joined us last time out. Oh dear, that's not how you take turn 1. Trev Sharp, I beg your pardon, that wasn't turn 1, that was turn 7. The Phoenix orientated livery on Trev Sharp's car, the TMS Racing number 10. Oh wow, that's someone getting wanting to really get on with it. I'm not quite sure who that is behind. I recognise the livery, but I've forgotten whose car that is, I'm afraid. It's right behind Trev Sharp at the moment. They're quite keen to get on with it. They will have a qualifying session, of course, that follows this. So this isn't the this isn't the be all and end all. Stephen Johnson is the car that is directly behind in the lest we forget type livery. Well, RDS Motorsport. That board right in the way of that camera there. Not a great camera angle to use, but and there we go. Trev is now getting out of the way. Again, this is a practice session, so there's not really going to be any kind of penalties or anything like that going on. There is Vance Lagarde. So we have now seen Vance on track. Now that's once again, both of them going for distinctly bright liveries, both highlighter colours as well, with Casey going for the bright pink liveried car. And wow, goodness me. This isn't rallycross, sir. Those tyres will not hold doing it. Oh, there's Hans Hannes. So Vance Lagarde staying very much out of the way of the top spot driver at the moment. Vance Lagarde is the father of Casey Lagarde. Thank you for that update. With the background. Oh, that's Hans flying off the road. It's 15. That's the final turn. That's actually easier than you think to do. You might think that that's a gentle gradient right-hander. To a point it is, but the problem is you come over an almighty great crest right as the turn starts. So if you get that wrong, the car doesn't easily settle itself before you get into the main body of the turn. And we've seen repeatedly how these cars are very easily unbalanced and how hard it is to get them balanced again. Dean Vella, nearly doing the same thing again as Hans Hannes did. Green sector 2, so that's a personal best in the middle sector of 45.272. Dean Vella remains where he is in third place. Max Garrion, we haven't seen Max so far this session. There he is in ninth place, 1.6 off the top spot. In the 83 car, one of our privateers. There's Max in the championship. Let's have a quick look through the list. I'm sure he's on that. There he is in 13th position with just 5 points on the board. With an 11th and 15th positions currently being scored, but looking good for increasing his points tally at the moment. He is coming towards the end of the lap. That's turn 14. Oh wow, now you saw how the car just slid there. Again, his car just did not want to behave itself. There's no massive undulation change in the middle of turn 14, so he just kind of chucked it in there a little bit too late. The car did not want to grip at all, so this will be probably another yellow. Yes, it is indeed. 46.5, which he himself has done better. And Hannes once again has still yet to be that 45.5 he said earlier on. And there is Vance Lagarde. That's a very distinctive Dayglow highlighter yellow car. Can Hans do anything about it this time? There's Dean Vella. Oh, 2 personal bests. This time around, he's within a tenth of a second of that top time. Now, can he do it? Can he keep the car nice and settled? This looks like it could be very clear. If it's not... Oh, that's a shame. Wandering a bit too wide. Let's see what it was. It was a 45.0. But, of course, well, it's an improvement on his previous time, but he would have backed out of that, I would have thought, when he wanted to. Well, there's Ruiz Silva Vieira. Now, I wonder whether his time was going to be in danger there from Dean Vella, but proved not to be the case. But we are getting towards the end of the practice session. Oh, purple in the last sector. Very nicely done there from Ruiz Silva Vieira. Doesn't improve overall, but lights at the timing board in that final sector, which starts on the downhill section from turn 11 right the way through to the line. As the cameraman is staring at the scenery. There he goes. There's a wild Max Carrion appears. He's going through the last few turns. Checker flag is out. Not many cars out on track at the moment. We are heading towards the qualifying session then for round number 3, the midway point of, well, midway-ish. It's a 5-round season, so there obviously isn't a distinctive hard midway stage. 45.7, that puts Max into 8th place. Improvement from his previous position. And vanish he does. Right. What do we have to think about that? Are we going to look at the pecking order? We've kind of learned this. We've learned from this from previous rounds, I believe. But even still, Kalasai was still in there, but was not at the top of the tree.
Yeah, Kalasai just being just over a tenth and a half off in that free practice session. Hans Hannes really showing a good turn of pace. I mean, Hans is currently, 6th in the championship, 1 point behind Ruiz Silva Vieira from Atlantic Motorsport. So there's a lot that we can read from this session. However, it's one thing in practice. We're now going to go into a 15-minute qualifying session, then a 30-minute sprint race. And we know that with the sprint races that we've had at Adria and Indianapolis so far, Chris, is to expect the unexpected. And that's been the case here for the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship. And I think we're going to have the same thing when we go to Watkins Glen and then to good old Cheshire, to good old Alton Park Lovely circuit. I haven't commentated there myself in real life, but I've had plenty of opportunities to commentate to the international circuit, and that's going to be a real true test because, you know, looking at Adria, that wasn't a very wide track, but then you go to, like, say, Alton Park, you then narrow it by probably another half a car width, and then you've got problems. But here at Portimao, I think one of the biggest things that's going to catch out the drivers is the sudden change of elevation up and down, and that's where I think we're really going to find some interesting battles. Will Kalasai get to pole position? Could he make it 3 in a row for the season? I'm not going to put it past him at all. I think he's more than capable, but I'm hoping that Dean Vella is going to really put the warning shot, because Dean's got a massive disadvantage in the championship standings. You know, Kalasai on 73, Dean Vella on 37. Obviously, we had some words that Kian Butler, who's over down under, he's actually having to withdraw from the series due to university commitments. So we've now got a really good sort of cluster of drivers. You know, you've got Jan Dix from Team Schmoken, you've got Silva Vieira, Hanus as well, Alexei Maisin from Unison Racing, Andy Birch, Tanel Kasisalu. I think though that amount of drivers, which I count as 6, could be vying for 3rd in the championship, but I think it needs to be a straight out. As we now head into qualification, 15 minutes. Some of the cars start coming out of the pit lane as Hans Hannes makes his way through into turn 1. Car is looking very loose going through turn 1. And it's literally, there's a sort of like a chicane part through 1 and 2, which basically makes it as a bit of opposite lock correction there from Hans Hannes as he now goes up the crest. And you can see that car is absolutely loose at the back end, quite substantially there, Chris. And you know, he's done an outlap. The tyres aren't fully up to temperature, but it's also one of the things that you nearly. Now that was definitely a lot of understeer going through there. But, you know, he's setting the benchmark time. It's a 30.061 in Sector 1 as he's now going through. And you can see that he's just having to wrestle with that car quite substantially. He's gone through I think it's turns 10 and 11. And like literally it's down the dip, through into the left-hander at 12. And then another steep incline. It's very much like there's so many different variations of Paddock Hill Bend from Brands Hatch here at Portimao.
It's a roller coaster, this circuit. It's why I love it. I think it's a brilliant track, but it is so challenging. We saw in the practice session just how unsettled these cars get with these undulation changes. Oh, that's a lot of right-hand turn into a left-hand bend. But yeah, whilst Hans Hannes is doing a great job of wrestling this car, you've got to think they've got to do this for 30 minutes straight with other people around them. It's such a different challenge to what we've seen from the likes of Indianapolis, which is almost completely flat. Adriana as well to an extent, and here you're really throwing the cat amongst the pigeons in a way, because it's, like I say, it's such a roller coaster. The undulations really just test the drivers. And like you say, Watkins Glen does have a fair amount of undulation change in it, but it's a little bit more spread out. It's not as extreme as it is here. And then you've got Alton Park, which is it's a great track, but the track is about as wide as a matchstick. So it's going to be another great challenge. We are starting to see some times come on the board. I was going to say newcomer of Yatif there, who had internet trouble in rounds 1 and 2, so was with us at the beginning of the season, but we didn't really see him. There he is, Itamar Yatif. For GT Omega RPM Esports, and the 26 are currently at the top of the tree with a 44.4. But yeah, expect that to start to come down. There is the mighty Kalasai, currently in 10th without a representative time on the board. I think it's fair to say. Might this be the time that the guard is changed? We will see, but you can't ever imagine that Kalasai is going to be far away from the top.
No, not at all, Chris. I think, we've seen it where he's come in a lap or two into qualifying and he's literally blasted the field to one side, like swept them under the royal carpet, so to speak. But Itmar Yativ from GT Omega RPM Esports currently leading the timesheets with just over 9 3/4 minutes to go, 41 thousandths ahead of Hans Hannes in the Braun-esque or the Team Rocket RJN colours. Then it's Dean Vella, Ruiz Silva Vieira, then you've got Nicolas Vieira as well. Jon Dix running out the top 6, covered by just over a second, and then it is Vance Lagarde, the father ahead of the son, so it's Jedi versus Padawan in that particular encounter, I think. But there's been a change as Andy Birch from Team Schmokin goes up behind his teammates, so the tune of just over 0.4 of a second, and there is the number 72 as he goes down that significant. It's like a log flume ride, only without the water splash there. And it's about carrying momentum here at Portimao as he runs wide. That's going through turn 3, up through turn 4, and that's definitely not what you want to do, going into the kitty litter. So thereby, that's why there's a yellow that's been retracted as Itamar Yativ now on an outlap, and just these undulation changes. I mean, I've seen with my very own eyes how much it is, how difficult this circuit can be. And when I was at the Cartodromo Internacional do Algarve in the very same location, literally you can see the kart track and the Autodromo right from each other. I could see all the LMP2s and the LMP3s and the GT cars like literally going through, I think it was turn 15 where the stands are, as Itmar Yativ absolutely nailing the throttle. And at some points around this circuit, we saw it with like Max Carrion, where literally all 4 wheels are off the ground, as Itamar Yativ now up into... he's over a 10th up on Sector 1, and he's really pushing the number 26, you know, not having been able to make it due to internet problems in the first 2 rounds of the championship. I think that with the fact that Kalasai has yet to set a presumptive lap time, let's say here, Chris, as there we go, definite, that's very much Flugplatz territory there, going through that corner. I mean, that was just full commit from Itamar Yativ, as now he goes literally Tokyo Drift here at Portimao, and he's catching it, and he's up by another 2.5 tenths in Sector 2. Itamar Yativ, I think, could be, if he keeps it this way, he could be in the 143s, the very high 143s, as we have just over 7 minutes of the session remaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, watching the inset picture there, which is from his driver's eye perspective, he's not wildly soaring at the wheel as we saw the likes of Hans Hannes doing earlier on, although Hans is only, or was, at least before this lap came along, only 400s behind. So Hans is able to get some momentum, but Yativ, a little bit slower in Sector 3, but again, a new pole time, 44.141. Great effort there from not even the Kalasai can overcome. David Kalasai slots into second, still a great time. But Itamar Yativ showing how it's done, utilising that 4-wheel slide really, really nicely. Not wild changes of direction as Vance Lagarde. I'm not sure whether he's trying to work his tyres or is struggling to keep the car in a straight line, but you're seeing exactly what I'm describing, just that constant change of direction, that correct motion going on. All that does is slow you down. I mean, it may not send you off into the dust, I grant you, but it's not the quickest way of doing things. If you're able to utilise the slide in the car, that is really going to help us. Ruiz Silva Vieira jumps up into 3rd position now, pushes Hans Hannes down 1, but 3.5 tenths separates the top 4. Very, very nice. What can Max Carrion do in the 83? That's a 145.9. That is, where does that put Max? That's 10th position for Max. That's even still, that's only 300s ahead of the younger Lagarde. There is David Kalasai. He's purple in Sector 1, but only just, as you can see, and he's lost time in Sector 2. So again, we're used to seeing constant purple sectors from the Mugen Sim Racing number 25. We're coming towards the end of the lap now, so this is turn 14. So he was half a tenth up in the first sector, 6,000. Well, it was his personal best, but 6,000 down on the sector best in Sector 2. What can he do here? He can still take the pole, but he's not going to be by a dominating amount that we've seen in previous rounds. What is it going to be? It's a 43.967. He found another 10th in the last sector, but that's a 10th and a bit between himself and Yativ.
That's a real shame, because I was hoping Itamar Yativ was going to be the first one to break the 1 minute 44 second barrier. And I did say it, didn't I, that Kalasai would do 1 or 2 hot laps and he'd be like literally at the front of the field. He was P3 after his first lap, as Hans Hannes, who was very quick in free practice, won. He's rounding out the top 4. There's Dean Vella. He's set the fastest first sector time of anybody in this session, but has lost over 3 tenths in Sector 2, is how he comes across the line. that was a bit of a shoddy lap there, unfortunately, for the GT Omega RPM Esports driver, currently on 37 points at the minute. But I mean, I'm just hoping that Itmar Yativ has a bit more in the tank of the number 26, because Kalasai is going out again, and he's a second down on the first sector. And again, that Flugplatz-like style upper lift underneath the front wing of that USF 2000. It's just quite captivating, because it can catch people out, because, you know, and again, you know, going down the hill there into the left-hander, again, the front axle seems to, it's a bit like a drag strip car, only it's trying to turn a corner whilst trying to go through over a bump, and it's a single-seater. You know, these drivers, I think these bumps where the front axle lifts off is going to really cause dramas for the drivers. And you can see that Kalasai is wrestling a little bit. I think he's now bringing that car back up to speed. He's going to come through the 15th and final corner and then decide to pull it into the pit lane. Itmar Yativ up by over half a tenth in sector 1, and he's gone purple. And now this is where we could see that Itmar Yativ, if he gets, well, he's down by about 3/4 of a tenth in sector 2, but if he can make up a lot of time in sector 3, this is where he could really throw that warning shot across the bow. There's a yellow in sector number 2, but Itmar Yativ looking rather composed there, coming through into the final corner here at turn 15. And he lets the car drift over to the left-hand side to get the maximum run of momentum, but I think he just had a massive moment coming out of there. And yeah, I think that was definitely a new Nomex requirement there for Itmar Yativ.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I think it's going to be close. Yativ is really showing he's got the pace to make Kalasai work for it this week. So that'll be great for us to see as we see, wow, that's a lot of rearward steering from Hans Hannes. Only 400s down in the first sector, which he himself has done better on. So again, don't discount the brawn-flavoured number 91. Let's see what he does here. So now it's starting to come up and over the hill. Again, just that car is dancing everywhere, which isn't what you want. You want the car to stay nice and stable. But a track like this, it's very, very difficult to achieve that. Could be that a lot of drivers have gone for a very low downforce setup. My word, that's very Tokyo Drift. That's a bit more four-wheel drifting than I would have imagined would be optimum here at Algarve. But if it works for Hans, then who am I to argue? As we look at Vanstegard now in the Matrix Motorsport number 71. He currently sits in 8th position, a very respectable time there. What can he do in the closing stages of the lap? The cameraman is staring at the hillside, so but Vance is somewhere down by the start-finish line. That's gone wrong for him somewhere. That's in the pit lane. That's why the camera wasn't changing. So no improvement there for Vanstegard. And their father and son not that far apart. They're only actually less than a tenth and a half apart. They just got Andy Birch in the way. So they'll be starting very close together. Here is Andy Birch for Team Smoking in the 72 car. He currently sits in 9th position, 1.8 off the top spot. So it's gone horribly wrong for him in the middle part. Well, the last part, either slowing down or he's made a mistake that he needed to recover from. So we'll see how well Andy does on this flying lap. Stephen Johnson.
We've got Stephen. Sorry there, Chris. I'm having to unmute quite a bit at the moment. But Stephen Johnson again. Oh, that was. Did you see how high that front axle went off the ground?
It's a bit unnerving, isn't it? It's fly me to the moon kind of territory.
Yeah. At least he's not singing in the rain, talking about song lyrics there. But yeah, I think David Kalasai again for the 3rd successive race. But I mean, what we need to concentrate on now, because we've got 13 seconds still left on the session. Itmar Yativ now going through in towards the end of sector 1. That's very, very wide. I think that's going to be an unallowed lap time. But look, he's lost 2 tenths in the first sector. Check it out for the session. Kalasai, the only driver to go sub 1 minute 44, a 1:43.967. Yativ is not going to have another bite of the cherry. And even if he gets closer, it's going to be down to the racing itself, because Yativ has now decided to abort, and that is it for his qualifying session. So Kalasai takes pole position for the 3rd race in a row, and that's 30 points alone that David Kalasai from Mugen Sim Racing has secured through qualifying. And we do normally say that times are for show, points are to go, but here at World Pro Racing, the emphasis on qualifying means that you can get one heck of an advantage. And so he's opened up a further gap over Dean Vella. I mean, all the drivers that are competing tonight, as long as they start the race, they get a point for starting it. You know, you got points for consistency, so leading the most laps. Well, David Kalasai has been running away with that one this season. Points for fastest lap is 5. Points for consistency. The only person, if memory serves me correctly, it was actually Jon Dix in race 1 at Adria that had consistency. But it's not about the consistency of the lap time, it's the consistency of the point scoring. And tonight, you know, Kalasai is in that prime position to do exactly what he did at Indianapolis. Get a good start and run away from the field.
But if those times from Yasiv are anything to be believed, I think Kalasai is going to have to work for it. But then I did say that before. I said that Dean Vella was going to be the one hot on his tail, and position-wise on the podium he certainly was. But alas, Indianapolis was just dominated by David Kalasai. We will see. I mean, only the drivers know their true pace, but yeah, that's a great performance then. Being this is his first performance on this stage, or his first opportunity, we should say, to really show what he's capable of Ismail Yativ. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what he can do.
So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go to a brief commercial break. So we'll be right back here on World Pro Racing as we get ready for round 3 here at Portimao of the USF 2000 Championship. Well, with a now extended lead of 46 points, David Kalasai is on pole position for the third round of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship. Firstly, we have to thank all our sponsors as always, our friends at Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX and AMD, and also to those viewers at TVM Sport in Malta, Motorsport.tv and Esports Television, as well as those people watching on the World Pro Racing streams on Facebook Live, YouTube and Twitch. Chris, Kalasai has been the man to beat this season so far. We've got Itmar Yativ, we've got Hans Hannes, we've got Dean Vella. There are a lot of drivers that could possibly break the Kalasai streak, but one of the biggest talking points that you and I have, we're just seeing them starting to ready up on the grid, is that the undulations here at Portimao can possibly throw a spanner in the works, and we saw that with multiple drivers going through into turn 1, obviously coming out of turn 15. You've then got 8, 9 and 10, and as I said earlier, you know, turns that very much echo Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch as now the formation lap gets underway.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the comparative corners, I think, aren't as excessive as what we find here as we're just running through the grid now. You know, there's row 3 having Vella and Vieira. Dixon advanced the guard. A good effort there from the youngster. And Andy Birch and I beg your pardon, that was Father Lagarde that was ahead of Casey Lagarde for row 5. Matt Scarry and Steve Johnson taking on row 6. Darrell Russell and Trev Sharp at the tail end of the field. But really, anything can happen. I was going on to say that you know, those compared corners I don't feel are as extreme as they are here, mainly because of how the undulation changes affect these cars. We saw it all the way through practice, all the way through qualifying, pretty much throughout the field. So it wasn't just one or two people that were suffering from it. Pretty much everybody was suffering in some way, shape or form, just how the cars misbehave. All it takes is just one overcorrection or one late correction, and you'll be chucked off into the dust. So that's going to be very interesting to see how these guys handle that. Some people may have to just back off their pace a little bit to help keep the car steady, or they're just going to kind of go all out and risk it. But look, already that's you know, Itmar's all over the tail of David Kalasai, even in the warm-up laps. So he's very keen to look at that. He's very keen to get on with it. Big gap, weirdly, behind Hans Hannes. So the top 3 are ready to go. The rest of the field are slightly less keen to get on with it, by the look.
Well, at least the good thing is it isn't a rolling start, Chris. It's a standing start like it's been for the past 2 rounds, and it's about who gets the perfect purchase, you know, mitigates traction, minimises wheel spin, and waits for that opportunity to go full Danny Rick into turn 1 and hopefully lick the stamp and send it. But it's not going to be easy. I mean, these drivers are going to have a real test on their hands. You know, and we've spoken with David Kalasai after, you know, both victories, and he said, look, it's not easy for me because I don't normally drive single-seaters. And he's come in, and because of his knowledge of R-Factor 2, especially with the likes of GTR 24H and other platforms in other leagues that he's raced in, he is rather competitive. And I've seen him at work in an LMP2, and I'm not at all surprised that his skills have transferred really, really well as they now start forming up on the starting grid here at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimao, about an hour's drive from Faro International Airport. Kalasai, this is his race to lose.
It's his championship to lose. I mean, it's going to take a retirement, at least one retirement, for the championship position to be overturned. But anything can still happen in our remaining rounds.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's nearly time to get round 3 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship, and it is green, and we are off and away in another immense start from David Kalasai, as now Hans Hannes chasing down Itmar Yativ, Dean Vella in 4th position, Jon Dix trying to go around the outside of Nicolas Vieira, and again there is Andy Birch going wide. Silva Vallera in caught in the crossfire a little bit as Vance and Casey Lagarde Lagarde gets a bit of a bump from Steve Johnson in the 85, but Kalasai getting initially, he's done another Sebastian Vettel-esque manoeuvre and he's gone away, but Itmar Yativ coming under fire now from Hans Hannes. Vela, Vallera, Yondix running at the top sixes. There's a moment there for Itmar Yativ going through turn 5 as they go up the hill through 6. And then into the right-hander at 7. Green flag still waving, but Kalasai has charged off into the distance once again, and we are less than a minute completed into this race. They're now going through turn 8, down the dip into 9. The front axles coming off of the tarmac, and Itmar Yativ, Hans Hannes, and Dean Vella, along with Nicholas Vallera, have got a lot of work to do to try and close in on David Kalasai, who has, look at that, I mean, nearly he is over 1.4 seconds up the road from Itmar Yativ. Kalasai has done exactly a repeat of the first 2 rounds once again.
Unreal. He had a pretty good start. Yet he wasn't quite so quick off the line, but he covered off Hans Hannes really, really well, and that's a great scrap forming there. As Casey Lagarde and Yondix swap around, as we see here from the number 3 car, heading down the hill towards the start finish line. My word, Varsegard having to catch that, giving that all opposite lock he can put in there. But he's managed to keep that one going. He's lost one position. Looks like he's going to lose the other one to his son before they get down towards turn 1. Is he going to take that one? Yes, he does. I don't think Vance fought that one too hard. Realised mover's done, but even still, the pink highlighted car very, very loose coming through turn 1 as Vance continues to fend off Andy Bird and Stephen Johnson right behind him. So many battles through the field, except yet again Kalasai is...
moment there for Yativ, and oh my goodness me. Now I'm wondering, have we had a bit of a server problem there? Because literally you saw Hannes and Vella going down into the doldrums. It looks like it might have just been a slight issue there, but it looks like the battle is well and truly resumed. I think, as the late Christopher Plummer said in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war. And that's definitely what's happening here at Portimao, Chris.
Yeah, apologies for the slight technical issue there. That's not Hans Hannes, that's Casey Lagarde we're looking at the moment. Oh, wow, and again, just under braking coming up towards turn 11. Again, I mentioned that earlier, you're trying to turn and brake at the same time. Lots of different cars will get very, very squiddly up there, and these cars are squiddly everywhere. So I'm not surprised that Casey is struggling. That's Hans Hannes, currently in what I believe is 4th position at the moment, as he seems to have... Yeah, that's...
You got Vallera and Vella just up
Yeah,
ahead,
I was going to say, he's lost more than that, so... That right behind him, I believe, is Vallera, as there's great scrap forming ahead of him. Down the road there, you just saw Kalasai just dip over the crest there. Now heading down towards. Yeah. Look at that! There's a great straightforward move there for what is 3rd position. So Hans Hannes is actually in 5th now, heading down towards turn 3 once again in anger. Now, when the car is this loose, it makes you that much more nervous unless you're very used to cars misbehaving to this kind of degree, as which is, I mean, if you are, then fair play to you. And wow, Hans Hannes. Oh, what's a big move coming down into turn 5. Can he get that one down and turned in? Oh, what a move from Hans Hannes. That was brilliantly executed.
Yeah, down through turn 5. Absolutely nailed it round the outside of Dean Vella, and now he's got to try and chase down Nicholas Vallera just up ahead. So this battle for 3rd position has now got Rui Silva Vallera closing up on the rear wing of the number. Well, that's so Vella now in the 54 is now down back into that position. Oh, mistake from Nicholas Vallera, and that allows Hans Hannes to get back up the inside. Now Dean Vella's looking to throw one up the inside. That's going through turn 9 and 2. We're nearly wheel banging there through into. That's through into 13, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, Dean Vella absolutely getting the elbows out well and truly here at Portimao, going through turn 14. But Hans Hannes now has an opportunity to start clawing back the gap between himself and Now, that's really interesting. Oh, now we've had a DNF. It's Mariativ. That looks to be a connection problem. So Hans Hannes has now got 7.1 seconds between himself and David Kalasai, who is now grinning like the cat that's got the cream. He's 7.3 seconds up the road from the number 91. There's Jon Dix as all. Now that was a bit wide there from Dean Vella. That allows Ruiz Silva Vallera to get up the inside. Darrell Russell has now received a penalty. That could be for track limits because just a power car for Itmariati. If Nicolas Vallea goes off the track, that's a track cut. And then some. He's got Silva Vallera just behind him. Dean Vella. Then there's Jon Dix. The battle for what is going to be second to sixth. This is like Mount Etna wanting to explode right now here, Chris.
Absolutely. Now, Hans Hannes has given himself a bit of a gap. That's it's between a second and 8/10 between himself and Vallea. And now in third position, fending off the advances of Ruiz Silva Vallera, as well as Dean Vella in fifth position. Will Vella finally break his second place finishing streak, but not the way he would want to? But Kalasai once again just dancing off into the sunset. He's what would seem to be his closest rival, yet he's sadly out of the race. We didn't see what happened there, but with a power cut, all you're really going to do is vanish. There is Casey Gard. That's seventh position now. That will be a very, very strong result for Casey Gard. He's guaranteed to finish higher than when he has done before, so it's just been 15th and 16th. With only 12 cars still running, so he's guaranteed to do well. But seventh position, that's not bad at all. He's ahead of Vance, who we saw getting very, very squiggly earlier on. There is Nicolas Vallea now into third position, chasing off after Hans Hannes, trying to break away, as mentioned, from Ruiz Silva Vallera. But this track really is difficult enough just to drive it, let alone defending and attacking from anybody else. So, yeah, but Hans Hannes has a great opportunity now to start to break away from this chasing pack.
Yeah, and he's got a gap of about 1.1 seconds ahead of Nicolas Vallea. Now, Vallea finished 8th last time out in Indianapolis, finished P12 in the opening round at Adria, as he has a little bit of a tank slapper. That was coming out of the corner and putting the power down. The 2-litre 4-cylinder Mazda engine producing around about 170 brake horsepower, all running on the Van Diemen chassis. And Vallea looking to just keep ahead of Ruiz Silva Vallera, who has got Dean Vella from GT Omega RPM Esports closing in on his rear exhaust pipes. So at the moment, with 21 3/4 minutes still to go, David Kalasai, the points leader, by quite a considerable margin, around about 45-46 points so far after the first 2 rounds and the qualifying session, is ahead by 8 seconds over Hans Hannes in the 91. Then you've got on the main picture on your screens Nicolas Vallea in the number 18, rounding out the top 3. Ruiz Silva Vallera rounding out the top 4. We've had a couple of penalties issued by Race Control. Our race director, Adrian Figallo, has already been on to us, and he said, right, there was a 5-second penalty for the number 83. That is for Max Carrion, with an incident between himself and the number 10 of Trevor Sharp. So Carrion gets a 5-second time penalty for causing an avoidable collision, and also a penalty for the number 85. Well, that's not really going to be any more dramatic for Steve Johnson, because there was an incident between him and the number 3 of Casey Lagarde. So a 5-second time penalty added to Johnson's overall race time, but he will finish in 13th as a classified DNF. So all of the 12 drivers so far, Chris, which is rounded out. So you've got Jon Dix behind Dean Vallea, as we're on board with Ruiz Silva Vallera from Atlantic Motorsport. Jon Dix, then it's Casey Lagarde, Vance Lagarde, Andy Birch, Max Carrion, and you've got Trevor Sharp, and then Darrell Russell. They're all going to score points as long as they make it for the next 20 1/4 minutes to the checkered flag here at Portimao. It's been absolutely enthralling thus far.
That it has, and this battle is not showing any signs of dissipating to any great degree. Although in saying that, Vallea now beginning to break away. Nicolas Vallea having an absolute stormer this this round. 12th and 8th have been his previous best, and looks set for a podium if the positions finish the way they are right now. Plenty can still happen though, especially as tires begin to wear out. Drivers start to lose concentration with an already very tricky car. We will see. Hans Hannes now has maintained his gap really to this particular pack. It's about 1.2 seconds, give or take. There is the Braun liveried car, the number 91. David Kalasai, well, he's often, he can go down to he can sightsee in Portugal. He's got such a lead on him and still come back and win this one. Where's Silva Vieira now? Where's he going? Is he thinking about an attack, or is he thinking about defence, or is he trying to break the slipstream to Dean Vella right behind? Oh, that's very close for the GT Omega Esports car. Number 54 getting really, really close to the tail of Ruiz Silva Vieira. No contact there, but really piling the pressure on. They come back over the crest for turn 4. Turn 5 is that big, heavy braking zone. But in doing that, that puts Silva Vieira back on Vieira's case. Nicholas Vieira really defending very hard, but that's sideways. Coming into turn 5, well caught there for Silva Vieira, but that's off the road for Nicholas Vieira. And now here's what happened earlier on with Trev Sharp. Oh, and there it is. It's got a shove from the tail coming through turn 4. It looked like the opening lap of the race. That's a bit of a shame for the Phoenix-coloured car. We saw Nicholas Vieira still in third position, despite wandering off the road just as that replay kicked in. So the positions remain as they were.
12 minutes down, 18 to go. Casey Lagarde being caught by Father Vance. The gap was about 3.5 seconds between the pair of them, as Casey now having to battle away with his dad. I hope that their simulators aren't in close proximity to each other. Let's say that much there, Chris. But this is the highlighter car duo. I think, I still have my pink highlighter in my desk. My yellow one, I think, has been stolen from it. But I do have one for each respective colour, so maybe I'll have to bring those to the party for round 4 in just a week's time for Watkins Glen. But this is a great battle. I mean, it's good to see that father and son taking an interest and giving it a go. And look at Vance right in the slipstream down the main straightaway, a very long straightaway, down the dip towards the right-hander at turn 1 as Casey stays ahead of Vance. But Casey off the road, all 4 wheels outside of the track limits. That will be a definite track cut, so he would have had a warning on his HUD display showing up saying, yes, you just got to watch it, sunshine. As now we see the picture-in-picture rear wing of Casey's car. You can see how close Vance is, and that was from earlier on. That's a replay from earlier when they went through turn 1, and Casey went very, very wide. Oh, snaking in the back end for the number 3 once again. Oh, and this is getting rather, rather close between the duo, and you can just see how hard they are pushing. Lagarde pushing to the limits of adhesion. Oh, his father nearly went up the inside of him there. And Casey's gone a little bit wide. Both of them go airborne over the dip into the left-hander up the hill. Once again, this is a great duel as David Kalasai has got a 9-second advantage. A lock up there from Casey Lagarde on that particular occasion as they now go through the dip down into the left-hand sweeper at turn 11. Again wide from Casey Lagarde, and his dad Vance looking up the inside, and his father pounces. That was a textbook move, just waited for when Casey's back end was starting to get a bit loose, and then going through turn 14. Vance Lagarde, the master, well, the Jedi versus the Padawan that is Casey, going through turn 15. But now the boot will be on the other foot. As you can see, we go on board with Casey Lagarde as he goes, very, very wide coming out of turn 15. And he's going to try and see if he can gather that momentum. But Hans Hannes now 9.3 seconds behind David Kalasai, who will pick up 18 points for a victory, 10 points for a pole position, a further point for starting the race, a further 5 points for leading the most laps. I wonder what his consistency is like. Could that be the first Grand Chelem, the perfect score here at Portimao? Because he's been like a rocket ship. He's just gone off into the distance. And as they say, Chris, when you're not talking about the leader, he's doing a pretty damn good job at the front of the field.
I don't think anybody can question that. Oh, as that Dean Vella got a little bit deep coming out of turn 7. as Valleja still fending off the advances of Rui Silva Valleja. They come down that, that horrendous drop down into turn 9, now over the crest of 10. My goodness, Silva Valleja all over the back, but just cannot find a way past Nicholas Valleja at the moment. Yeah, Casey Lagarde's car was so loose for so long. I think Vance was like, yeah, okay, if you're gonna do that, I'm just gonna run past you. You have your own spin. Although Casey is doing a pretty good job of trying to hang on to the back of his dad, but I can, as a gaming father of a gaming son, he will be, father will be grinning his head off at that, as I would be given the same, roles reversed. Oh, Nicholas Valleja, that was nicely done. That was very close to running off the road, but time that was nicely. Look how the conga line is going. Pick your line, you will be told off if you change direction too many times. He's just trying to break the toe to the two behind him. This battle is brilliant, but whilst they're going on, look who's behind them. Jorn Dix is gaining on them. So, this conga line could become 4 wide before too long.
Yeah, who's going to push the pineapple? Who's going to push the pineapple and then shake the tree if we're having a conga line right about now? But Dean Vella was very close to Rui Silva Valleja going through into turn 1. I mean, we saw him coming to blows with Kian Butler back at Adri in the battle for second position, which Vella and Butler were deemed to be over-aggressive and a bit over-robust and both got a 5-second time penalty. But Dean Vella has got to try and get past these two because he needs to do that. I think that Silva Valleja and Valleja are both corks in the bottle. And as soon as Dean Vella can get past, he can then start challenging Hans. He then can start going after Hans Hannes. But this track has really, as there's the move from Dean Vella up the inside. That's a brazen move from the GT Omega RPM Esports driver, but through the left-hander, Silva Valleja gets the position back, but Dean Vella looks to the other side, and that is through turn 13. Oh, they bang wheels, and Dean Vella manages to robustly force his way past as they go through turn 14. I think Dean Vella knew he had to do something, and do something rather rapidly, and he had an opportunity there. He was alongside, in my honest opinion. I'm not a race director or a race steward, but from my line of sight there, Chris, the Dean Vella had a right to go up the inside of Silva Valleja, and if he was completely alongside, race control might see that as a racing incident. But Silva Valleja getting the drag down the start-finish straight into turn 1, Dean Vella having to relinquish that position rather rapidly because he knew how quick Silva Valleja has been in these straight lines. But a little love tap between the pair there going through turn 3. I think Dean Vella might be chancing his luck with maybe getting eyes firmly put on him, courtesy of race control.
Team Schmokin's Jorn Dix now joins this particular party as Nicholas Valleja has managed to break away because of the battling between Silva Valleja and Vella. All the V's are no longer together anymore. I was enjoying that particular fact, but sadly, that conga line has now changed as Jorn Dix very much joins the back of it. But yeah, I agree with you. That was a racing incident. Silva Valleja knew, Dean Vella knew he had to make the move on Silva Valleja, and picked an opportunity to do so. And it looks like he's going to try it again. Wasn't enough alongside. But yeah, this time last lap, Dean Vella knew he could make the switch back, which he dutifully did. But I'm not entirely certain Rui Silva Valleja meant to turn in that much. I think again, just the car over rotating on him caused a little bit bang of the wheels. That didn't really cause him any damage. But then the 27 car just got the slipstream on the start-finish straight anyway. But now this is where Dean Vella wants to be able to return the favour. He needs to stay in the wheel tracks of his opponent. Easier said than done. Down the hill, but has he got the momentum he needs? He'll get the slipstream all right, but of course Silva Valleja now cannot get the slipstream off of Nicholas Valleja. He's too far back. Dean Vella's going to have to banzai that one into turn 1. He's running out of road, but can he slow it down? Just about manages to shut the door on Rui Silva Valleja. That is 4th position now for Dean Vella. Very nicely done.
Oh, that was nearly a bit of squeaky bum time right there and then. 10 minutes to go here at round 3. Kalasai is going to further extend his lead in the championship standings. No one has come even close, not even Dean Vella or Kean Butler, with the latter having to withdraw from the series due to university commitments and obviously the time differential between us here and where he's located. But Kalasai just looking absolutely masterful. And with the way things are going, if he puts in this kind of performance at round 4 in just a week's time, the 7th of April, he's literally got that championship hooked up lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels.
Yeah, absolutely he does, but still plenty of other positions to decide between then and now. But yeah, David Kalasai, just as a reminder of what he looks like. There he is, less than 10 minutes to go now, and nearly 12 seconds to the good between himself and Hans Hannes. And that's a decent result for Hans. He's been on the podium before. He was on 3rd place in Adriana. So, yeah, he has seen the podium before. But that'll be the first time he'll see the 2nd place that's been dominated by Dean Vella so far. Still plenty to go on, though. He's not a million miles away from those behind him. If he earns the eye of the stewards, then he could still earn the penalty that will put him further back. There is Nicolas Valle, who's a little bit of no man's land here. He's not close enough to Hans Hannes. He's about 2.5 seconds apart or so to make to gain any kind of slips or anything like that. But equally, Dean Vella behind him is exactly the same. So, yeah, there's no... They're beginning to spread out a little bit, which has been a bit of a shame because that battle has been absolutely storming all race long. But like I said before, you get a bit of fatigue, you take your eye off the ball, these cars will bite in this track.
Yep, 8 minutes to go. Nicolas Valle, this will be his best finish this season, having finished 8th last time at Indianapolis and P12 back in Adria, the opening round of the season, just 2 weeks ago when we kick-started things here. Don't forget, if you want to find out about more events coming here on World Pro Racing, head to our official website, worldproracing.com. This coming Friday, in just 2 days' time, we have the opening race of the HyperX Open Series with prizes from our good friends at HyperX, including keyboards, headsets, and mice up for grabs for the top 3. And we will be heading to Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. There will be a sprint and a feature race. We'll also return to USF 2000 in just a week's time as we head to the penultimate round. We head back stateside to Watkins Glen, and then it is a double German bonanza at the tail end of next week. Next Friday will be the German Fest at the Nürburgring with the BMW M6 GT3, and then the following night we will have the 226 kilometers of the Nürburgring Special, which will be earlier in the afternoon here on World Pro Racing. There is 18 slots available for the German Fest and 12 slots available for the 226 kilometers of Nürburgring, both running on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. And there is still more exciting things in the pipeline here at World Pro Racing, so don't forget to follow us on socials. Head to our website, worldproracing.com. And if you're enjoying the action here tonight on the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship and you're on the YouTube channel, why not hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell to be notified when we next go live on air. So Dean Vella trying to close on Nicolas Valle as we have 6 minutes on the clock still to go. Dean Vella is closing. He's only 6/10 behind Nicolas Valle. I'm wondering if Nicolas Valle has had not just dramas. We've also been informed by race director Adrian Figallo that Steve Johnson in the 85 gets a 2-grid penalty next round at Watkins Glen for an unsafe rejoin during the race. And look how close Dean Vella is. He managed to robustly get past Ruiz Silva Vallera here, Chris. If he gets past Nicolas Valle, he could go charging after Hans Hannes because there is still time. Again, Nicolas Valle is the cork in the bottle in this particular situation.
Wow, that's a sudden recovery of pace from Silva Vallera somewhat. He's just really closed down on that one. Look at that! That's a great turn of speed there. Oh, steady, Nicholas. He wants to hang on to that podium spot. He's going to have to defend very, very hard to do so. Dean Vella going to the outside along turn 1. He's gone off the road. He's going to have to relinquish that one. But wow, what a sudden turn of pace from Dean Vella. Actually, Silva Vieira's not far behind either. And there's Jorn Dix. So we could well have, before the checkered flag falls, we could have another conga line being reformed. But look at this. Vieira is feeling the pressure from Dean Vella all the way down, now towards turn 5. He's defending absolutely everywhere from Dean Vella at the moment. But where the hell did that come from? Just suddenly found a great turn of pace. I suspect, as I was saying earlier, it's just fatigue and a lapse of concentration from Nicholas Vieira that's allowed Dean Vella to close right back in. But yet again, he's just got to find that extra bit of pace or find that extra mistake from the number 18 car to try and steal that podium position.
Yeah, as they're coming through the far part of the circuit, going through turn 12 now, up the hill, now in towards turn 13 before the right-hand hairpin at turn 14. And Hans Hannes isn't too far ahead of these guys, but Hans Hannes has kept it rather consistent, in my honest opinion here. He's remained relatively untroubled, as has David Kalasai, who now has a 14-second advantage after what has been 26.5 minutes of racing here at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve here in Portimao in Portugal, deep in the southern part of the Algarve, as Nicholas Vieira coming under fire once again from Dean Vella as Hans Hannes goes a little bit sideways going into turn 1. Dean Vella now really getting a good run coming out of turn 1 into the right-hander at turn 2, but Vella needs to be a little bit closer on the main straightaway to have any opportunity whatsoever to try and get past Nicholas Vieira, but Vieira makes a little bit of a mistake there, and Dean Vella looking to go side by side. Now this is into turn 5. This seems to be Dean Vella's sweet spot as he now goes towards the outside, looks to get the cut back here, turns the car in, nicely rotates it through into the left-hander at 6. Dean Vella is nearly side by side again with Nicholas Vieira as they go into the next right at turn 7. No matter what way Dean Vella is trying to get past Nicholas Vieira, Vieira still has an opportunity to respond, and respond in kind, as well as the fact that oh, now there's the move from Dean Vella as the switchback happens, but for the next corner it is going to be advantage Dean Vella in the tie break, and that stalemate has now been broken by the 54. And there is Rui Silva Vieira. That could be rather interesting in whether Nicholas Vieira will drop unceremonially, like a pebble being dropped into a pond, and Silva Vieira could possibly get P4. But we've got 1 minute and 43 seconds to go. Yellow in sector 1, so someone's had a bit of a moment there. But Kalasai leads, and he's just cruising at the moment, like a good old Wednesday evening driver, a Sunday afternoon stroll. As there goes Nicholas Vieira up the inside.
No.
Oh, little bit of a touch, and that causes major dramas for him. And there is somebody else. That was Darrell Russell who brought out the yellows in sector 1. So there was debris on the track there. And is anyone missing any front wings? That's my biggest question. Or could that have been Darrell Russell's actually that was on the track? Maybe. Well, Dean Vella's left wing end plate is gone. Yeah, aerodynamic inefficiency for both Dean Vella and Rui Silva Vieira. And the only one that has got his front wing still fully intact is Nicholas Vieira as well.
Wow, that was a crazy turn of events there. As soon as Nicholas Vieira committed to turn 1, I was not convinced I was going to stick. And lo and behold, it didn't. But Dean Vella has been making that move stick up at turn 11 quite a number of times, and yet again he made it work very well as he now holds on to that third position. Silva Vieira in 4th. So that'll be what happened. They caught out Kalasai. That's why Kalasai has dropped down the field, because oh dear.
Oh my goodness me.
That got very ugly very quickly.
Whoa.
That was Darrell Russell tangling with Trev Sharp. And yeah, that's actually cost. Oh, that's a huge chunk of front wing missing, but it doesn't really matter because the checker flag is out. Oh, David Kalasai, if you had another lap to do, you would have been very heavily challenged there. But your winner here in Portimao is once again David Kalasai. Hans Hannes takes the second place. Dean Vella, after an almighty great battle, is there. It takes the last podium spot. So Dean Vella again continuing his podium streak, although not seconds this time. Rui Silva in fourth, Nicholas Vallea in fifth position. Jorn Dix will take sixth place, but wow, David Kalasai, that there'll be words said about that. And Vance Lagarde, father beating son, over the line for seventh place. Andy Birch right behind them in ninth. My goodness me, I imagine David Kalasai is counting his lucky stars on that one.
He's definitely lost one of his 9 lives right there and then. I think that could have been absolutely... if that had been any worse, we would have had a new winner here. But David Kalasai, by the skin of his Nomex, wins from Hans Hannes, who takes his best position. Now, Hannes took third at the opening round at Adria. He's now on the podium for the second time this season. It's 2 seconds and a third for Dean Vella after that tumultuous battle between him and Rui Silva Vallera, and also Nicholas Vallea as well. But David Kalasai, it's going to be interesting to hear from him because, you know, you look at that incident between, who is it? That was Trev Sharp, I think, and Darrell Russell. And Kalasai had nowhere to go. Kalasai had absolutely nowhere to go. He just went, I've just got to run with this. And that car, if that had been terminal, if he had lost all complete front wing on that car, Hans Hannes would have gotten up close, and I think he could have done a drag race a la Fast and Furious style to the line. But David Kalasai continues his winning streak here, albeit with a bit of new underwear drama required. But again, the twists and turns, they keep on coming, Mr. Buxton.
They do indeed. You did indeed say to expect the unexpected, and again, the expected part was Kalasai to take the win, but wow, that could have gone so horribly wrong for the current championship dominator after that tangling with Trev Sharp. But goodness me, he's out finally a chink in the armour, but it took a backmarker for it to happen. Yeah, it'd be very interesting to hear what he has to say. But yeah, great effort there for Hans Hannes and Dean Vella rounding out the podium. Very much look forward to what they have to say because, God, they were just fighting all race long. It was wonderful to see.
That's always the good thing about this championship. It might not be the fact that we're concentrating all the time on the leader. We are waiting for some drivers to pop into the interview booth to have a chat with us. Well, actually, funny enough, let's start off with the man that had a fantastic battle. GT Omega RPM Esports, Dean Vella, a third successive podium this season, Dean. Not exactly the runner-up step, but some great battling between yourself, Rui Silva Vallera, Nicholas Vallea, and also Jorn Dix from Team Schmokin. Another podium. The gap is unfortunately extending in the championship, but you must be happy with the third place result.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, I mean, decently happy, I guess, with the result, but not really the race I wanted. Pace wasn't where I needed. The battles were a bit scrappy, I guess. They weren't too clean. But yeah, I guess still P3 at the end of the day is still decent.
I think we saw some fantastic overtakes from yourself. I mean, the one that you pulled on Rui Silva Vallera, I think it was turn 13 or it's turn 5, one of the two. Can't remember which one because there were so many great overtakes that you managed to pull off. You know, you definitely weren't afraid of getting your elbows out this evening, Dean, I must be honest.
Yeah, I had to be a bit too aggressive at times, definitely, because I was losing tires and time behind the two guys in front. So especially at the later stages, I was pushing a lot. Did some mistakes that I regret, but at least pulled off a couple of cool moves.
Well, Dean, thank you very much once again. Another podium for the third successive race in a row. Is there anyone you'd like to thank this evening?
Of course, I want to thank the whole team, RPM Esports, as well as our sponsors, Gaming Malta, GT Omega Racing, and HyperX.
Okay, well, Dean Vella, we hope that things will come good at Watkins Glen in a week's time. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, next up, Chris, I'll hand over to you, and it's good to have Hans Hannes in for a what was the runner-up spot, and nearly had the win. So over to you, my friend.
Hans, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, guys.
Another podium, this time second spot. But certainly in the first half of that race, it just looked like that incredible battle you were involved with. That must have been great fun and equally terrifying to be involved with. Talk us through it from your side.
For sure. My legs were a little bit shaky after a few minutes. We had great battles in front of the pack. Really loved that. Hopefully, we will see more battles in the future. So yeah.
I should imagine so. Now, from our perspective, it looked like the cars were very easily unsettled by all the changes in altitude, and yeah, particularly when you were coming down those very steep drops from the likes of turn 11, for instance. Did it feel as bad as it looked? Were you constantly having to fight the car to keep it going in the direction you wanted it to?
For sure. Well, most of the issues were when the car was bottoming out, and you can't really predict what the car is gonna do next after the car is really that unsettled. So yeah, really I had to look out for any misfortunate spins or anything like that sorts of.
Watkins Glen, a bit of a different creature next week. Is Watkins Glen a track you do well out? Is that a track you look forward to?
To be honest, I have never driven that track, so we will see.
Extra challenge. We wish you the best of luck for next week and for the remainder of the series. Thank you very much, Hans Hannes.
Thank you, guys.
Last but by no means least, again, it's 3 from 3 for Mugen Sim Racing's David Kalasai. David, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, firstly, congratulations. Another pole position, another set of points for the most laps led, also the victory, but not, I think, the way that you wanted it to end. Referenced the incident between two back markers that gave you a lot of damage on the front of your car. Can you just talk us through it from your perspective? Because myself and Chris agree that you had nowhere to go, and it just sort of you got caught up in it.
I was thinking about that if I will be actually behind those drivers. I thought in advance there will be some accidents or incidents because they were running on the track a bit strange. I saw that, and yeah, in the exit of the turn 1, that was absolutely unavoidable for me. So I was a bit afraid to not finish first, because I saw Hans is catching up for me. So yeah, I was a bit afraid, but could manage it as well.
Now, you've really extended the championship lead to a point where you could secure the title next week. However, myself and Chris, and yourself as well, will know that the first thing that you're concentrating on is just getting at the front of the field, getting to pole position, getting the race victory, which you have done for the first 3 races. We've still got 2 more to go. That's the best approach to take, isn't it, David?
I felt pretty comfortable in the car, but however, I made some stupid mistakes, ran a bit wide in some corners, and I saw that the guys behind me are gaining back some tenths, but it was still a pretty comfortable gap, so I could concentrate on my pace.
Well, David, once again, congratulations. 3 wins out of 3 successive pole positions, and we wish you all the very best of luck at the
Thank you very
race
much.
at Watkins
Thank
Glen
you
in
very
a
much.
week's time. All right. So, very interesting to hear from our unstoppable force, which has had many immovable objects trying to get into its path, Chris. But David Kalasai he's got one hand on that title now from our perspective. He goes into Watkins Glen. He knows that he just needs to do pretty much the job that he's been doing all season long, and no one can stop him next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much his to lose at this stage. It's maybe mathematically possible, but all he has to do is just finish now. But I think it's fair to say we aren't going to see David let off the gas. He's still going to give it absolutely everything. And why not? We look forward to seeing how he and the rest do next time out at Watkins Glen.
Yes, well, that wraps up the coverage for the third round of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship here on the show. Big thank you once again to all our viewers at Esports Television, Motorsport.tv, Malta's TVM Sport channel. Of course, also all the World Pro Racing feeds on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. We can't thank our partners enough once again: Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX and AMD. So don't forget, tune in just 2 days' time for the start of the HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing, where it will be GT3 action at the Cathedral of Speed, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, where Tifosis definitely cheer from the grandstands, and there is going to be prizes up for grabs, keyboards, headsets and mice up for every single round that it will be taking place over. I think it's 8 rounds over the next 8 months. It's going to be an absolute belter. We've also got the German Fest next Friday, and also the 226 kilometres of Nürburgring. From Chris Buxton and myself, Alex Goldschmidt, it's a very good night, and we wish you all a very good weekend.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.